Welcome to the Former Fat Friend podcast. I'm Kasey.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Allie. And together we've lost over 370 pounds. We all know what it's like to be the fat friend. And now we are sharing the ins and outs of our weight loss journeys.
I'm so happy it's podcast day. This week, we are chatting about one of, I think, the most frequently asked questions, loose skin and plastic surgery.
I get this question all the time. Did you have loose skin? How did you avoid loose skin? I'm worried about having weight loss surgery because I don't want loose skin. It's like top of mind for a lot of people.
Including all of us, I think.
Yeah, I think I already know the answer to this, but Allie, did you have loose skin after you lost 150 pounds?
Thanks for asking, Kasey. Actually, I do. I knew it was something that I was going to have, and I didn't think that I would care about it. You guys had said that you both went into bariatric surgery like knowing that you would want to have loose skin removed, right?
Yeah.
I didn't. I did not think I would care about it. And quite frankly, I thought that like, especially like getting implants or any sort of like breast surgery afterward was like mostly vanity, to be honest. And then I lost so much so fast, and my stomach loose skin really doesn't seem to bother me very much. I'm not like, I don't need to like be running around in a bikini. I have 2 little kids and all of that stuff. But the like lack of breast tissue for me drives me nuts. So I don't know if that counts as like loose skin, but it's definitely right. Like it is.
Yeah.
And I actually expected it, I think, to be much worse because I carried so much of my weight in my belly. And my skin from having 2 kids within 18 months, 15 months, which whatever, it was already very loose. But I thought it would be way worse. Like I thought it would be still hanging lower the way it did when I was still heavier. And that definitely didn't happen. And I think that's why like I have had people ask me about it, and I think it's misleading because I wear like compressive leggings and then you can't tell because of where most of my loose skin is in my belly, but it's definitely there. And if I never got that removed, I think I'd still be fine. It doesn't bother me that much. I love a one-piece bathing suit, and I'm very happy with every other part of my body except for my boobs. That I know now how wrong I was when I thought it was like just for vanity. And also, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing something for vanity. I just didn't think I would need to. And I do need to.
Yeah.
Boobs too, I think, like as a woman, I feel like that's one of those things that is just a part of our femininity. Like if you don't, you cannot have that.
I think that's what it was for me. I was walking down by the post office of all places, and I caught my reflection in like one of those glass windows, and I just had, it almost looked like concave. I had such little breast tissue, and it like immediately made me feel very unfeminine, and just like, I don't know, it just seeing that reflection kind of hit me. And it was like, yeah, I think I was like you, Allie. I was never a person who thought I would ever get a boob job.
Right.
Like that was for people who wanted to show them off and wanted to wear skimpy bikinis. And that just was never something that I was going to want to do. And then when the time came, it was like, no, it's actually a lot more deeply ingrained in like your identity as a woman, and not having breasts anymore was hard.
I think I also, like practically speaking, it's like harder for me to dress my body because there's nothing there. And like, I don't have like little boobs. Like I think Lisa at one point you were like, yeah, but you don't even need to wear a bra now or something. And I was like, oh baby. But if I don't, my nipples are in line with my belly button. So like, and you can still see those. So it's it's practically harder. And like even on shirts that like would be work appropriate or something, but they're just like a scoop neck or whatever, you can see like wrinkles in my boobs. So it's like I have to be I'm still thinking so much about like the tops I put on that I was just I definitely want, I think, to do something about that. But the loose skin on my belly, I could take it or leave it. If I'm going to get a boob job, I would like to maybe get rid of it, but it's not that important to me.
Well, I think you kind of alluded to this, but like for someone who lost over 150 pounds, by all accounts, your loose skin is pretty minimal. Like it doesn't look to me
I feel like that, yeah.
Like it doesn't seem to interfere with your ability to run or exercise or anything like that. A lot of people do have that degree of loose skin where it's like actually impeding their quality of life. So,
Absolutely. I actually I just deleted it because it's disgusting, but I had a rash under my loose skin when I first started losing weight.
Oh, man.
And it's funny because now I don't have enough loose skin there to cause a rash. So I don't know if it was that I still had weight to lose that was like pulling me down or something. But I took like pictures and videos of it because I had read or maybe seen on Instagram or something that like if you want to have like your insurance pay for this, that's something you should do is like document these.
Yeah.
And I got really like afraid and started taking pictures and videos, and it happened one time, but I was like terrified that this was going to be something that I dealt with. And it was awful for the one like week that I dealt with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lisa, what was your experience with loose skin after losing 110 pounds?
I love every time you remind everyone that I lost 110 pounds. I definitely have a lot of loose skin. It's funny because I get asked fairly frequently, like, how did you avoid loose skin? Or like, how do you get tone? What is your gym routine? And I have so much loose skin. My loose skin is my biggest insecurity right now. It's probably the only thing that still bothers me. And it's mostly my legs. I plan to get upper thigh lift, tummy tuck, and a breast lift. But the thigh lift is by like far and large the thing that I care most about. And I think the way you can dress for your body is everything. I wore a really fitted dress recently, and I saw people I hadn't seen in a while, and they were like, "Oh, we just assumed you already had your tummy tuck."
Oh, wow.
There's some really cool underwear out there. I don't know what to tell you. Like I promise you there's a lot of loose skin. I think for mostly me, I don't know. It's definitely a self-confidence thing. Like I want to feel my age, and my boobs right now make me feel like I'm 80.
Yeah.
And I have retained a lot of breast tissue, but there's just a lot of skin, and there's a lot of skin in my stomach. But my legs, I always carried a lot of my weight in my legs, my hips, and my thighs. Like, Kasey, you want to talk about a skin puddle? I mean, like, there's a pond. There's a whole pond.
It's a great lake for me.
It's a great lake. Yeah, it's very real. And it's like, it's a big insecurity of mine. And it's something that when I went into surgery, I knew this is something that I want to be prepared for, because I just knew that I wanted to feel good in a bikini, and I like my legs. I don't wear shorts. I don't wear short dresses. And I want to be able to feel confident and comfortable doing those things. So I've just always known that eventually, I didn't know when or what that would look like, but I knew that eventually post-op I would have skin removal. And that's still how I feel.
So you mentioned you carried a lot of your weight in your legs pre-surgery, and that was an insecurity for you. Did you think you would feel better about your legs after losing weight? And do you feel better about your legs now, even with the loose skin?
I don't think I knew. I wasn't sure what was. I have so much cellulite, and I kind of figured that even with losing weight, the cellulite wouldn't go away. So no, I think I kind of always thought that like I'll need skin removal. I just couldn't see them bouncing back. Like they've always been pretty rough. I think they look a lot better than they used to. I don't feel, Allie, the way that you do, and that like if I don't have the skin removal, I'll be fine. I feel the opposite. And I honestly worry about that. I worry about having the thought that like I'll be happy with my legs once I have the skin removed, because I don't want there to be like, I just want to be happy with myself as I am. And I was actually really surprised to find that my therapist supported that mindset of like, no, she was like, I think that's very real. Like your legs are going to look very different. And I think that makes sense that like you can say, I don't like the way my legs look, and it's temporary. And, you know,
I agree. I also think I have the benefit now of being very comfortable with the people that see me naked.
Yeah.
I say people like I have like I don't know what I'm alluding to here, but it's just mostly one guy.
Yeah. See, I haven't locked that down yet, so I gotta keep.
Well, and that's I'm not often in a position now. My boobs are a different story, because I think they're so noticeably deflated, and like Kasey said, like there's just so little breast tissue there, and now I can see like muscle there. So I have like this like really manly, to me it feels like a very like masculine upper chest area and then like empty, sad boobs that like my husband, to his credit, like I don't think have ever said anything about them. But one day I was like, this is kind of like really sad for me to look at. Like, I don't really like looking at my boobs anymore. And he was like, I don't know what to say. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't like say that I haven't noticed, but I don't want to be an a-hole and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think, he handled it as best I think you could. But I recognize the fact that like I feel that way about most of my body because the situations in which I'm like presenting my naked body to a new person have completely gone out the window unless it's like medical.
Mhm.
And then in that case, I never cared and still don't. But I'm not concerned that like my husband is going to like not love me or not find me attractive.
Yeah.
Kasey, I know you've kind of already addressed your issues with loose skin, but how
Yeah.
did that affect you?
So I think by all accounts, I was pretty lucky when it came to loose skin. I do want to say I started at a lower weight than a lot of bariatric patients. I'm 5'7" and my surgery day weight was 234 pounds. So I was medically obese, but like, on the smaller side, but I definitely still had loose skin. I think it was interesting for me because before I had surgery, I tried to like look at my body and predict where I thought I was going to have loose skin. And I was pretty right. I didn't really carry a ton of weight in my arms, so I didn't think I'd have a lot there, and I don't. Same with my legs. I had these like pockets of fat on the very tops of my inner thighs. And I was like, oh, I bet that's going to turn into loose skin. And sure enough, there it is. And same with my stomach. I had like my upper stomach I thought I was going to have loose skin there. So anyway, I was able to like look and kind of predict. And that is sort of what happened. So yeah, I think my loose skin, even the skin that I had was pretty minimal. So it definitely didn't affect things like my ability to exercise. You couldn't see it in clothes. I felt like it was the kind of thing where like, if I put on a bikini, a two-piece bathing suit, and I got the lighting just right and I posed just right, I could look pretty good in that two-piece bathing suit. Like you couldn't even really tell that I had loose skin. But what bothered me is like I wanted to be able to like put on a sports bra and shorts and go play volleyball and not think about like, oh, if I'm bending over getting this ball, is my skin hanging off my stomach? Or like if I sit down like cross-legged on the side of the court in between games, like is my stomach skin gonna like be looking weird? I wanted to be able to like live and not worry about the skin. And so that was, I think, what bothered me was more of that like I didn't want to have to constantly be like tucking it in or posing or, holding it just the right way. I wanted to just have like the freedom of not having it there.
That actually sounds really nice.
That's the dream. Yeah, no, I think that's for me too. Like, I just don't want to have to worry about what it's doing because that's when you see it the most is when I'm bent over, like my stomach is sagging or sitting in certain ways. It's like it just all kind of splats out in front of me.
I noticed that when I went to Florida this weekend and I loved like not having to think about that stuff for a little bit. Like, and obviously I still have loose skin, but like not having to think about like posing or like the way I was standing. Like I sat up on every float that I was on and didn't worry about like the way I looked from the side or whether like, cause there would be days where I would be at the beach because we've always loved the beach or whatever. Or like I'm very comfortable in a bathing suit because I've always been in one from swimming, but like I would be in it and I think trying to like hold myself a certain way or stand or sit a certain way, my back would hurt. Like the next day I would be sore from like trying to like maneuver myself in a way.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that way even with the loose skin recently, but I can't imagine a world where I could wear like a two-piece and feel that way. Like I still think I would be feeling those old feelings.
I talk about this a lot and I think it's one of the things it's hard to convey to people like just how much mental freedom comes with losing weight. Like you don't even realize how much time and energy you spend thinking about things like that until you're not thinking about things like that anymore. And it really is like, I mean, it's life-changing and like, yeah, it's nice to look good. Everyone wants to look good, but it's like the mental part that's so freeing and so worth it. And so I think for me, like, I think a lot of people could look at my before plastic surgery photo and say like, oh, I wish my skin looked like that. I wouldn't do anything if I were you. And I get that because it wasn't that bad. But for me, it was like, I needed that little bit of like closure to this chapter of my journey so that I could like really fully experience that like mental freedom part of kind of just
existing.
Yeah. Well, and I think I remember too, Kasey, you talking about how you felt like you weren't finished. Like maybe you still had more weight you needed to lose.
Yeah, I can remember like especially sitting in the car with a seatbelt over my stomach. I don't know why I have that such a vivid memory of like looking down and seeing what looked like a fat roll and being like, well, maybe I just need to lose a little bit more weight. And at the time I was 135 pounds. So like objectively did not need to lose any more weight, but it was really hard to look down at my body and see that roll of skin and not think that like, what if I could just do a little bit more? Like maybe just a little bit more and then that won't be there. And after I had surgery, I mean, the recovery is a long process and, you know, we can talk more about that later. But I think that really did make me feel like, okay, now I'm done. Like I really was able to see my body for what it was. And for the first time felt like, yeah, okay, like I'm good. This is the end of the losing weight chapter of my life. And that felt really good.
Yeah.
What about, did you guys notice a lot of skin in your face?
I noticed that I have more like wrinkles and like lines. I definitely notice more lines when I smile and stuff. That's when I got Botox for the first time.
Oh yeah,
it was like everything. None of that stuff was there, and then I lost the weight in my face, and I was like, okay, no, none of this can be.
Well, you guys know I got it for the first time, and it was the same thing. Like I just all of a sudden I felt like I had a ton of wrinkles, and I look back actually. And I noticed that like the smile line, like on my crow's feet that I haven't had done yet, that I wanted to do, that's like what bothers me the most.
Same.
They were definitely there before. I don't know why I noticed it so much more. I felt like I noticed it. Or maybe I just like, I think I got to a point before where I just didn't care about my appearance that much. Like I still like to dress like at what I thought was the best I could, and I still loved like makeup and stuff, but I noticed a lot. I feel like I noticed a lot more on my face after surgery.
I had kind of a funny experience. So this summer after I had weight loss surgery, I was less than a year post-op, but I had lost the majority of the weight at that point. I remember going on a boat and like talking, and like the wind was it was like picture a dog with its face out the window, and I was like, what is happening to my face right now? It was so awkward. I will say I think it has tightened up a little bit naturally on its own. Like
that's
that.
Nice.
I've never noticed your face flapping in the wind for what it's worth.
I've stuck my head out the window from time to time just to test the theory, and it's been better. But yeah, no, I think it aged me a bit to lose that kind of weight. I think I lost a lot of volume in my face, obviously, because I lost a lot of fat, and fat in your face is what makes you look youthful. So I've done all kinds of things trying to get back some of that youth. I have done Botox, and I did try filler a while ago. I don't know if I would do that again. I got Sculptra, which is like a biostimulator. I'd probably do that again. So I'm here for all the things. But yeah, it doesn't bother me, but it definitely is something I noticed. I do look a little bit older.
Yeah. I don't think you do. I think you look very youthful.
Actually, my sister, when she met you guys at Barty's birthday party, she didn't think you were the weight loss surgery friends. Because she was like, you can usually tell in people's faces.
Oh, interesting.
Go us.
It's my sister that hasn't had surgery too. So she wasn't like biased trying to make it better. No, she was like, is that the ones? And I'm like, yeah.
Is that the ones?
Is ones. Can I speak? Are those the ones?
So I'm curious. I remember asking my trainer, like my arms really bother me. And a scar down my arms also really bothers me. So I'm like, my arms are kind of they are what they are. And maybe I'll do them years down the line if they still bother me, but they're certainly not on my radar right now. But I remember asking him and he was like, no amount of toning he was like, you'll just have more loose skin because muscle is leaner. And so it's going to take up less space in your arm and there's just going to be more loose skin. So like, no, at a certain point, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think that when I was working out more heavily, I noticed more muscle definition in my legs where I could actually see it. But I never had a lot of loose skin there anyway. So it's hard for me to say if I think that like helped or not with the loose skin. But I think your trainer's right. We all would love to like have some secret lotion, potion, workout, whatever to help with loose skin. And the reality is like loose skin is part of the process.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's not that fun. And I think part of what makes it not that fun is that it like makes it feel like it's hard for you to see the end of your journey.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's hard to feel like you can close a chapter of your life because you're like, hey, I've been working out really hard in the gym for a year and I still can't see it. even though you know it's there. I think that's what makes it hard. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I get asked a lot, like, or people will send me questions to say, like, did you have loose skin? I'm thinking about having bariatric surgery, or I want to lose weight, but I'm worried about the loose skin and I don't know if I should do it.
Do it.
Do it. Get over it. Suck it up.
Well, actually,
you will 10 times over. I promise you. I like literally, if you have weight loss surgery and you have loose skin and you wish you were still the heavier version of yourself, you come find me and I'll settle up the bet. Like I think it's worth it.
I was going to say too, like find someone to talk to, like find a therapist or something that you can talk to about this, because if that's the concern, I don't know that you should be moving forward with any surgery.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That there's probably like a deeper level of self-worth.
I completely agree with you that like if you're worried about that to the point where like you may not do it, then you may also be considering it for reasons that won't make you successful in the long term.
I think that a big thing is like, to me, that says the only reason you're doing this is because of looks.
That's what I mean. Like you can't hold on to that.
To me, like, yeah, I think I look great. I feel really proud of how I look, but that on the list of things that have changed my life from losing 105 pounds, that's at the bottom. Yeah. There are so many things that are above that. It's like completely transformed my health in ways I couldn't have even imagined. My mobility, how I feel, my relationships, like work, everything has changed. How I look is bottom of the barrel. So like loose skin, bonus. No loose skin, the benefits far outweigh any negatives.
I do also want to acknowledge that the three of us are all sitting here having a conversation about it with the privilege of being able to afford loose skin removal. So like, I just want to acknowledge it. Like, I know that's not an option for necessarily everybody. Yeah. And I'm sitting here saying like, yes, loose skin is absolutely worth it, knowing that I plan to have it removed.
Well, I mean, I don't have any planned like timeline for this because it's not something that I could do in the next 6 months if I wanted to. I would have to wait for a pretty long time to do it financially.
Okay, so that's a good segue because all of us have gone on plastic surgery consults. We are either considering or have had plastic surgery. So when did it start to come on your radar as like, this is something I want to pursue?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you like when you knew it was time, because I think one of the things I worry about is like, I worry about doing it too soon. Mm-hmm. Like I'm working with my dietitian on like, trying to lean out a little bit and get in like tip-top shape, because in my mind I'm like, I want to be in the best shape I can be to make sure that the surgery is as effective as it can be, that like I've done everything I need to do. And like I guess I worry about doing it too soon, that it's like, oh wait, is there like a number? Should you wait 18 months? Should you wait 2 years? Should you wait? Like I was curious when you felt like you knew it was time.
So I started going on consults a little bit before my 1 year surgiversary. I was at the time in a very similar spot as you. I think I was about 145 pounds. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was close to being done losing weight, but also like wanted to give it one last little push. But the surgeon that I ended up going with, I remember asking him about that same question. And he basically said 10 to 15 pounds one direction or the other won't compromise your results. Yeah. And so that to me was reassuring because, you know, I didn't want to be any lower than really 130 pounds. That like, so it was like, okay, well, even if I had surgery today and I lost 15 pounds, I'll still be okay. So what I did was I booked my surgery for several months past that. And then I used those next several months to just like really focus on honestly the bariatric basics of like protein, water, movement. And I did end up losing, I think I was like 137 pounds on the day of surgery. So felt even more confident going in at that weight. Right. But yeah, that was my sort of like, okay, I think I'm ready, because that 10 to 15 pounds was...
I forgot about that because he told me that too. I forgot that like 10 to 15 pounds, that makes me feel a lot less stressed. When I know a lot of times these things, they take a long time. Like they take a while to go through the consults, book the appointments, find the surgeon that you like, and then also get on their calendar, get on their schedule can take months. I asked my surgeon when I had my 1 year post-op follow-up with her, you know, we looked at my weight and where I was, and she was like, I think you're good. You're good to start like having these consults. And so that kind of initiated it for me.
That's awesome.
Allie, what about you? When did you start thinking it was time?
So again, I never really thought this was a thing I would do for a lot of reasons. But again, financially, I just didn't think it was like in the cards for me without like a lot of planning. And I really wasn't bothered by the skin. on my stomach. But I think the last of my like breast tissue really I noticed was gone when I went to Thailand in October. And I wore a lot of like summer clothes on that trip. And all summer before that, I still had something left there, like on my chest. I didn't have the lack of breast tissue that it felt like all of a sudden in the last like month, I lost everything there. And so, yeah, around October, I was like wearing bathing suits in Thailand and like tank tops and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. And also I noticed like I got a crop top and I wore it with shorts for like a neon like full moon party that I didn't end up going to because my sister-in-law and I went to sleep anyway early. But I actually like wasn't bothered by the loose skin on my tummy because I think like the shorts came up and also like high-waisted pants are a thing again. So I've like really gotten away with murder there. But I think like wearing bathing suits a lot, tank tops and stuff like really kind of reminded me that all of my breast tissue was gone. And that's when I sort of started to be interested.
Yeah.
So Lisa, I know you went on 2 different consults. You went with the surgeon that your bariatric surgeon recommended, and then you also went to my plastic surgeon. Can you talk about your experience with that?
Sure. My surgeon is kind of what kicked things off, and she said, I'll send you a referral. And I knew that I wanted to get multiple opinions. I just kind of wanted to see what everyone had to say. And my initial consult, I know that loose skin surgery is a cosmetic procedure, but the office it felt more cosmetic. First of all, I walked in the room and there was glass everywhere, like mirrors, like full room of mirrors at all. There wasn't an inch of the room that wasn't a mirror. And then it's just like my naked, saggy body there.
Oh, in the consultation room?
In the consultation room. And there was no...
that sounds like a house of horrors.
There was also no like, here, put this gown on. Like she came in and I was fully clothed and I was like, should I like take my pants off or what?
In front of her?
So we should get this show on the road or what?
That's really awkward.
Well, yeah, I was like, that's what we're here for, right? Like you got to look at me naked.
But like getting undressed in front of someone else feels
very
sort of
intimate. That's
what I mean. It didn't feel like a doctor's office. It felt like this is where we go for Botox and filler and like, which again, fully support on board with. It was just like, it was important to me that my surgeon had experience with bariatric patients and or not even bariatric, but just extreme weight loss and that type of loose skin, right? Like this isn't
tuck.
I just that was really important to me. And I felt that there was a lot of like over promising what I could expect from my results of just like how incredible I would look and how amazing I would feel, and that there was a lack of realism. And so Kasey, when I went to your surgeon, one of the things that I really resonated with and loved about him was how realistic he was, especially when it came to my legs. Because I want to do my legs first because they prevent me from wearing certain things. My stomach and my boobs, I don't feel good naked, but I feel fine in my everyday life and it doesn't hinder me from doing anything. And when I told him I want to do legs first, he was like, selfishly, as a surgeon, I want to do your tummy tuck first because I know you're going to be happy with the tummy tuck. I can't guarantee you're going to be happy with your legs. And I found that so refreshing. I appreciated the managing of expectations. And like the first consult I went, there was talk of like, we can do liposuction here to really get that out and really cinch you. And Kasey, your surgeon was like, yeah, no, I would actually rather not do liposuction because that can actually create extra saggy pockets and like give you more loose skin that I'm not able to pull tight. And it felt more, I went into a room, a consult room. I was given a gown. I got dressed. It just felt more medical. And he took so much time with me because it's a big decision. And there's a lot of, I'll never forget. You have like the gown, right? You're fully naked underneath and you have the gown that just ties, like just opens in the front. And he's like, he asks permission and he says, can I open the front of your gown and take a look? And I was like, yep, that's what we're here for. And I open the gown and he looks at my boobs. And the first thing he says is, yep, definitely a candidate for a breast lift.
Wait, because you know what he said to me?
What?
Yep, definitely not enough tissue for a breast lift. But actually, that was after I had already put the bra on wrong. I put it on inside out, and he was like very adamant that I fix that. So he left the room
So
again.
funny.
That's why I'm laughing when your person was just like, take it off, like in front of me. He was like, okay, I'll be right back. And here's how you actually do it. And I'm like, do we need to do that? Like, just take it off. You're going to see this. And
that's what I'm like, dude. Yeah, I'm naked
but
at
it's
this
like,
point. Like,
you know, trying to make an uncomfortable situation a little
so
bit more
much more
comfortable.
comfortable.
totally.
He was.
I will also say, I think there is a difference between the first surgeon I saw was a female and I'm a female, and then the second surgeon is a male. And so I think there is something to be said about a male, you know, working with a naked female's body is a little bit different. And that maybe the female surgeon felt like I didn't feel, I was like, yeah, but I felt the same with him though. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Should I undress? Like, what
It's
do
like
you
your
want
OB,
me to do?
like, I'll leave the room. Like your OBGYN, you're like,
I'm like, you're
doesn't matter.
literally,
Yeah.
your hand's about to be inside of me.
I know, but it's that same. Have you ever seen those like memes about how you like when you're at the OBGYN, you hide your underwear?
I do, yes.
It's like that. It's like they're doing what they're doing, but like there's something intimate about like that
taking
you're just
your
like,
clothes off in front of someone.
Well, I also learned
I
there was
get
like
it.
a reason because he like slipped the implants in to the bra that I was supposed to have on. So like the fact that I had it on wrong was like actually like clinically a problem.
See, I didn't have that. I am not planning on getting implants, so I didn't put on.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get to try on.
I actually think he referred to it as a brassiere, which I thought was the most endearing thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I haven't heard that since like George Costanza's dad on Seinfeld.
So obviously, I had already had surgery with Dr. Tattlebaum. Did you feel like because of that and also liking him at the consult that you were like, okay, this is enough, or was okay?
Yeah. I mean, I initially was like, well, let's just like call a duck. I'm lazy, and I was like, this is a lot of work and a lot of doing the same thing over and over again. Initially, I had wanted to meet with 3 surgeons. But I was so happy with Dr. Tattlebaum. And I also think having someone that you're close with have a positive experience. And like, I literally saw your journey and saw your healing process and have seen how thorough he is. And I saw how thorough he was with me, that I just kind of, if there was like any hesitation, I would have found a third one just to, and Kasey, you gave me several other people that you had gone to as well. So like I had options and I could have continued. So if there had been like a part of my brain that said, I'm curious what someone else has to say, I would have. He didn't leave anything unturned for me. He was so transparent and so realistic and so just made me feel very comfortable and made me feel like a priority. And that was like what's most important to me. And you know, he took me into his office and showed me results specifically of thigh lifts. Like, I just want to show you, because you don't see that stuff on the internet. I remember when I was looking for surgeons to reach out to, I was looking for pictures of thigh lifts because I'm like, yeah, everybody does a tummy tuck, everybody does a breast lift. I want to see thigh pictures, and they don't exist. And he was like, yeah, they don't exist because they're not as impactful, so people aren't bragging about them on their website. So he brought me back and like showed me, here are thigh lifts that I've done.
I also think it's important for people to know, and this is why I think it's so crucial to go on multiple consults, is that there are a lot of photos that patients will give release to the surgeons to show in office, but do not give release to put on the internet.
Yeah.
I am one of those people. I'm like, sure, Dr. Tattlebaum, show my pictures to anyone who comes into your office. I'm happy to do that, but I don't want that out on the internet.
I wish I would have known that. I would have been like, which one's Kasey? I'm just kidding.
Wait, hold on. But I have a question. What's different about the pictures they have taken from what you've shown on your Instagram account?
Oh, they're like naked.
Yeah, I saw like full nip and everything in that office.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so like obviously I don't want that on the internet.
Right.
But for
okay.
a prospective patient who wants to see what results look like, I'm happy to.
I got
my,
you.
My head's
Right.
not in it, so it's not like they know it's me. But anyway,
Right.
Yeah, I think it's so important to try to get, whenever you can, personal references. I know for me, I found Dr. Tattlebaum through Carolyn, actually, who we had on a couple episodes ago. She had done some research and found him. And then I was able to find 2 other bariatric patients, Laura and Amy. Shout out if you listen to the podcast. They both had surgery with Dr. Tattlebaum, and they were so kind and generous to me. And we messaged back and forth like endlessly. They sent me so many photos, told me all about their experience. And I thought that was so helpful. So this is something that I I think is important for people to remember is that just because a surgeon has a lot of followers on social media does not mean that they are the best. It doesn't mean that they're the only surgeon who knows how to work with weight loss patients. It doesn't mean you have to spend double the price to go see them. It doesn't mean you have to fly out of the state or the country to go see them because they have a few 100,000 followers on Instagram. Find your community, find people, ask around, and get those personal references, because I think I found the best surgeon on the planet, literally. And he has probably 200 Instagram followers. And I don't think he's posted since like 2020. So
no, that's such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because there was actually a third surgeon that I wanted to consult with that is very popular on Instagram. And I called, and I think I called maybe in January or December, and was told that his next available consult was in October. And like 10 months away. And then surgery would be even further after that. So 10 months just to get a consult. And I was like, no.
It might be the same one, but I did the same thing. I called a very popular plastic surgeon in our area, and I was told I think it was a year wait for a consult and 2 years post-consult for surgery.
I honestly don't know that I would have even considered plastics as early as I did, except for you guys were doing it, so I didn't want to be left out. I'm just kidding. No, except for that, Kasey, you when you decide you're going to do something, the amount of research that you do is like absolutely mind-boggling to me.
That's the thing. If
So
Kasey signed off on it, I'm like, I trust this.
Yeah. And my consult was different. And actually, you had said to me that maybe I should get a second opinion because of the loose skin I have on the top of my stomach, Dr. Tattlebaum had said, like, you will need a fleur-de-lis, so like the added incision down the middle of your stomach. And to me, like, again, it doesn't bother me that much the way it is right now. But I asked him, I'm like, is there a world where I don't have this and I'm happy with the results? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
He's like, I'll tell you, if you were my wife, I would say you should do the whole thing. And I'm like,
ouch.
Okay. And he stood me up and like, like pinched my stomach together and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like not really bothered by what he showed me it would look like. And I'm like, I don't think that's that bad. But I liked that he was like very like transparent about what I could expect, which I think is so important. He also was so funny because I asked if I could bring my husband because I was like, I don't know what I look like. And I didn't want to be picking out like big old implants because that's what feels normal. And so like it was important to me to have somebody with me that like saw me every day, like objectively. And Corey could not get out of school to go, but Dr. Tattlebaum, I told him that. I was like, I really wanted my husband to come. So do you mind if I take a couple of pictures of like what I look like from the side with these all in? Because the implants like went into the brassiere.
And then you can like put your shirt back on over it.
Oh, I didn't even do that.
Yeah,
but the way that he like talked about like the size of the implants and not just like you see on TV and it's like, this is so many cc's or whatever, but how wide they are was another thing because my chest is so wide that even while I was breastfeeding and my boobs were like very full and bigger than they'd ever been, I felt like they were like under my armpits practically because my chest is just so wide. And he's like, this makes more sense. And he put different ones in the bra and like it looked like you had stuffed your bra as like a 7th grader, like because they were so narrow. It was just so interesting to me to see all of that. Anyway, I'm like, can I take some pictures because I want to show my husband like what this looks like, and also immediately sent them I think to you guys and my sister as well. And he was like standing there taking these pictures for me and he's like, turn to the side, okay, now like turn this way, okay, and do that. Like it was so like it was great. It was like having one of you guys there to take pictures of me.
No,
it was awesome.
He is great. He was actually my first consult and I left being like, I don't know if I need to go on anymore, but I'm going to because I had already like set it in my head that I was going to do 4 consults and then decide from there. But I think one thing, Lisa, you mentioned this, that he really managed expectations. And I think I tell you this all the time. I think he is an under promise, over deliver kind of surgeon because he did the same for me. He told me like, this isn't going to be perfect, this part. I want you to know that this part's not going to be perfect. And now that I'm, over a year out and I see what he meant, but I'm like, it's perfect to me. I love it so much. Like I'm so happy. So I think that's really important. So one of my other consults was another surgeon in the area I had found. No personal recommendations for this one, but really good ratings on Real Self and had some like weight loss patients.
It's Real Self.
It's like a website where you can get ratings and reviews of plastic surgeons specifically.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, and people will post photos there, and it's really helpful. And also surgeons can answer questions there. But anyway,
See, she did her research.
I know.
he seemed really good too. I think for me the biggest thing, and truly like no bad things to say about him. There were really just two deciding factors why I did not go with him. One was that it felt a little bit rushed. He was kind of in and out between me and other patients. The lack of like, full dedication to me in the consult was one, but really the bigger thing was I can remember him saying, "Oh, we're going to get you so snatched. You're going to look like a Barbie doll. You're going to look perfect."
Yeah.
And I was like, am I though? Like, I don't know how I feel about that. That feels a little bit,
Like you said, not medical.
Not medical. I felt
Yeah.
similarly. There was an over promising where I was like,
Yeah.
am I actually going to get what you're saying I'm going to get? Like, it doesn't feel that way.
yeah. So that was the main reason I didn't go with that one. Then I went on a third consult with a surgeon that was a referral from someone who worked with him, but had not had surgery with him. So just, said this, he's a really talented surgeon. And I think he is. And I think he was probably the surgeon I would have gone with if I only wanted to have my boobs done. He is like, he's the master of breasts. Like he's very good at boobs, but I wasn't sure he had the level of experience with weight loss, major weight loss patients. And then the other thing with that one was that it was a very bougie experience. So the package came with like a stay in a hotel across the street and nurse concierge service for the first couple of days and hyperbaric oxygen chambers and lymphatic drainage massages in the spa and like all this stuff that was just like fancy and expensive, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So that was that one. And then the other one was a very popular on Instagram surgeon out in Seattle, I think. I never got to meet with the surgeon. I met with a patient care coordinator. I had to send in my photos. And yeah, it was another one where like super expensive, like way, way more expensive than the other quotes I had gotten. And I was also told like I was told I definitely needed the 360 all the way around circumferential body lift because I had lost over 80 pounds. That was like just their criteria. It was like, if you had lost over 80 pounds, you need this. And I
That's so not
They didn't
individualized.
consider, like, yeah, for me, I never had any butt or anything. They didn't consider they were working with a standing up frog.
Body types are different.
Yeah.
Right? And so like
Yeah.
that didn't feel quite right to me. And then ultimately, I think the decision to not travel was the right one.
Yeah.
And we could probably spend an entire podcast talking about why I think that's so important. But I really strongly feel you should stay close to home if you have plastic surgery. It is major, major surgery that requires tons of follow-up care. And you need FaceTime with your surgeon. And you can't do that if you're
So let's talk.
hundreds of miles away.
I think, and Kasey, I think that says a lot as somebody who went out of the country to have bariatric
Yeah.
surgery. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
That it's like,
And I also want to say, like, it's not a judgment thing. I am one person with one experience, and I can't speak from the experience of someone who has done that. So I would encourage you to, go find people on Instagram who are sharing their stories, talk to them. But I can say from my experience and what I have seen other people share, I think it's scary to me that you could spend a week to 10 days and then never see your surgeon again. Like that seems crazy. For me, I had follow-up appointments. One, my surgeon called me when I got home that day of surgery. He called the next day. I saw him, I think it was 4 or 5 days post-op. I saw him again a week later, again a week later. I think I saw him once a week until I was 7 weeks post-op.
Wow.
Then I saw him at 3 months post-op, 6 months post-op, 9 months post-op. Early on, it's taking out sutures and, sometimes you like have little spitting sutures. They'll cut those and get those out of there. They'll, just check all of the things to make sure it's looking good. I think he was monitoring for like when I was ready to start using scar treatments and doing some massages on the scars and things like that. But yeah, and then there were other times where like I had a spitting suture and I was paranoid that something was like horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And turns out I was fine. I'm just a lunatic and I had convinced myself something was going horribly wrong and it wasn't. But that's the kind of stuff that I think like, that happened weeks and weeks out from surgery. Like it wasn't within that first 10 days. It was weeks later. And I just remember thinking like, what would you do if you didn't have the ability to hop in your car and go see your surgeon just to be told that everything's okay? And I had 0 complications. I did not have a single thing go wrong post-op. And that's very rare. Like this is massive surgery and things go wrong all the time. Yeah. And if I had that feeling when nothing went wrong, I can't imagine if anything did go wrong.
Wait, okay. So I'm like very curious to know, how is it that was your mentality around plastic surgery and not bariatric surgery?
Because I did a lot of research. And I knew gastric sleeve surgery is super easy. You're under anesthesia for 30 minutes. It's in and out. It's like
safer than a gallbladder
It's
removal.
super safe. So yeah, that was more. And I think for me, I also knew the care I would need post-op of that surgery was not physical care. It was like the, dietitian.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Makes sense.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So obviously it's a lot cheaper elsewhere. Allie, you said you think 26 or 27. And what that was for... Was that for the fleur-de-lis tummy tuck?
Yeah, I think it was like $1,500 more or $500 more for that than a regular tummy tuck or something. And then implants and lift.
I will say he also told me, he suggested the fleur-de-lis for me as well. And I shot it down really quickly. I was like, I can tell you right now, I'm not worried enough about the loose skin to have a scar down my stomach. Like, I want to do this to look good in a bikini, and I don't know that I'll feel that way. I want to be able to cover these scars with a bikini. And he was like, look, I can only, I'm just recommending, I can show you do have like a lack of, what is it?
Laxity.
You have laxity, yeah.
Yeah, there. And like he had me lean over and he pulled my stomach, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't, I just want.
Yeah, he did that to me too. Maybe I should have talked to you about this earlier.
I think one thing that might be different for you is if you don't do the FDL, you can't tighten the muscle completely or you'll end up with that fold in the middle. And that might have been his concern for you.
Because my muscle separation
because you've had 2 kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that makes sense.
You went on a couple of consults, though. What did you end up... Can I ask you what you ended up paying for plastic surgery? And also, how did that compare to the other ones you went on?
Yeah, so mine was... I had a tummy tuck, breast lift, and implants. One thing that Dr. Tattlebaum does different is he doesn't differentiate the type of tummy tuck. So sometimes some surgeons will say like a regular tummy tuck, a mini tummy tuck, an extended tummy tuck, and it varies on how far around the sides they go. Dr. Tattlebaum's theory is he said he just goes as far as he needs to go to get the result he wants, but he can't flip you over, essentially. So the edge of the table is the limit. So if you look at my scar goes very far back, and it is what some would consider an extended tummy tuck, just for reference there. But I paid, I think it was $21,500 was the total cost for that. The other surgeon in Maryland was about the same. It was probably a maybe $500 difference. It was like negligible. The bougie fancy surgeon in DC was, I think, around $33,000, $34,000, something like that.
Huge difference.
And then the Instagram famous surgeon out in Seattle was the 360 body lift, no other surgeries, and that was $36,000.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Is that normal for a 360? I have no idea.
That's very expensive.
Okay.
That is...
Because I didn't know, like, if they had to turn you over and all that stuff, does it make it more?
I'm going to be very cynical here. They are charging that because they can, because of their popularity on social media.
It's a demand thing,
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
And that was, it's interesting. It was interesting, too, for me to hear, like, because there are multiple things I want done, right? A lot of people do the breast and the tummy together. I also want my legs. I found that with both consults that I went on, that they were like, you're under anesthesia for a long time with your legs. We don't really want you under longer than that. Like, we like to do legs separately. I didn't really have an interest in the 360 or the back left. I'm like, let's just start with the front. I can always revisit years down the line if I feel that I'm unhappy. And it was the same with my breasts. He was like, I said I wanted to be like a standard C cup. And he said...
I just like that you really fully grabbed your boob when you said that.
Honestly, do it again. I might.
Like a whole handful.
I might grab yours too, just to see what it's like to have breast tissue.
Just making
again.
sure it's still there.
Honestly, you should check because mine disappeared rather quickly.
My mom loves to tell everyone she lost all her boobs, and she'll grab my boobs. And I'm like, thanks, Mom. That feels good.
My mom would do that, but she'd go to grab it and just slap me in the face. So there's nothing there.
Okay.
So, Case, you are the one of us that has actually had surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had surgery in March of 2023. So a little over a year ago now. It was brutal. I have talked about earlier in this podcast how I found bariatric surgery recovery to be a breeze. This was not the case. It was probably the most difficult recovery that I've ever had. Both of my parents came up to help. They stayed with me for, I think, 11 days. And honestly, I could have used them for a few more because it was just, it was a lot. So the first few days are a complete blur. You're like, you have this crazy medication schedule where you're taking antibiotics, pain medication, Valium, anti-nausea medication. And my parents had these like little like shot glasses of Solo cups just like lined up, and everything was written on paper. And they were waking me up in the middle of the night just to make sure I didn't get behind on pain meds, and so that I wasn't in any pain. You also, with a breast lift, this is a little gory, but they don't fully remove your areola and your nipple, but they detach it from the skin to move it, and then they reattach it, and it's a high risk of losing blood supply to that area. So you have to check it. I think I want to say like every hour. I had to have my mom check it to make sure that it was still pink and the tissue was still living.
My gosh.
Yeah. So the first few days are honestly just a complete blur of like all these like logistics of taking care of yourself, and you're like trying to sleep and you can't stand up straight at all. I was like completely hunched over. I didn't have any trouble using the bathroom. I think, I did go home with a catheter. I forgot about that. I went home with a catheter that I had in for, I think, 24 hours. And then, so I had to like walk to the toilet so that we could empty it. And then I had to take that out at home after 24 hours.
Was that painful?
No.
Okay.
It was just weird.
Did it feel like pulling a tampon out?
No.
Okay.
The only time I've ever had one, I had like I guess the second time I didn't have an epidural. I don't remember them taking it. I don't remember feeling them taking it out ever, but I had medication. I don't think I could do it at home.
Yeah, it was weird, but yeah, everything was kind of a blur. And so I couldn't really see much because you're completely like, you're in your binder. You can't take a shower for 4 or 5 days until you go back for your first follow-up appointment. I did have one drain. So my surgeon uses a essentially drainless technique, but puts in a drain just for like a, worst case scenario, good measure kind of thing. So we did have to like monitor the output of that and empty that on occasion, but everything is like completely wrapped up. So you don't see anything at all. You're just like miserable and you can't see what you look like. And you're like, I hope it's good under there. And so then on day 4 or 5, I went back into the office. They pulled the drain, which was excruciating.
Oh no.
It was horrible. I have this photo where I think my mom took it, and I'm like just miserable. I'm sitting on the table and like you can tell my face is just like everything hurts. And that's the first time you see it, and you don't look good when you're fresh out of plastic surgery. Like you look horrific. Everything was like swollen and like weird lumps and bumps and folds. And my surgeon's like, yeah, it looks great. Looks exactly like it's supposed to. And I'm like, are we looking at the same thing? Because I look crazy.
You know what I think of when I hear this? I think about like the first people to do this. Like, can you imagine being the first person to have plastic surgery and see that and not know that it's normal and like get to the place we are today? I think about that all the time.
Good.
Yeah, it was really bad. And then the swelling really started to set in. I had swelling in like on my upper thighs. My like, this is like also TMI, but like the Mons area got so swollen, which is like a very bizarre.
What is that?
area?
Your vagina?
No, like the like
like your
fupa?
Your
your
fupa.
pubis. Oh, I thought you were saying like your actual.
No,
I didn't know
like,
it had a name other than fupa.
it's called Mons pubis, I think.
All right, well,
Or your fupa. It's like
if anyone would know, it's the doctor.
that got really swollen, which was like just bizarre. And I have all these photos and I was looking back at them recently and I was so desperately trying to convince myself that I looked better. I just didn't. So I was like taking all these photos and I have one where I put on the exact outfit that I went into the hospital in because I had taken a photo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look worse. Like I look so puffy and
Did you
chunky.
panic or ask him?
Okay. No, I mean, silently in my soul, I was like,
what have I done?
What have I done? Yeah. But you know, you just kind of do
Keep
what
going.
you can't do anything. So
it's done.
we started doing more outings. Like we went to the Arboretum and walked around for a little bit. We went to the movies one day. That was like the big outing for the day. So slowly started to do more things. I think the worst part was not being able to stand up straight for almost 2 whole weeks.
Yeah.
It's like this pain in your back that you cannot even explain. And I don't know why pain medicine doesn't touch it, but it doesn't.
Yeah. I actually had a version of that after bariatric surgery, but I did it to myself. I felt the pulling and I was so scared to stand up straight that I walked hunched over for so long that then it got to the point where I couldn't. I was like, my back is killing me. I need to stand up straight. And I remember my surgeons, I don't know what her official title is, sweet, wonderful Danielle. I called her and she was like, anything you're experiencing, you've done to yourself. Like nothing is wrong. Like in the nicest way. She was like, you just got to stand up. Like you got to stand up straight. You did this to she was like, you're guarding. And that was just from those tiny little incisions on my stomach. So I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And so in some ways the breast surgery was like an afterthought, like because I think the tummy tuck was so painful that I like forgot that I got my boobs done, except that when you get implants, they start really, really high and your boobs look so bad. So like my stomach looked bad because it was swollen and like the suturing, I had all these like this like puckering that eventually smooths out. And like then my boobs looked crazy and like I just looked bad. I looked really, really bad.
0 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah. But I will say that when I started to feel better, I think it was right around the 2.5 week mark. It was like an exponential curve of recovery. Like I got better really quickly. And I can remember actually going, I think it was my 3-week follow-up where I said, can I start walking my dog? And he said, I don't want you to yet. I'm afraid, if he pulls you, you could pull something. And I was like, well, you haven't met my dog, but
oh, interesting.
But I was like so ready to like start doing things. But a week before I was like, could barely do anything at all. Couldn't even stand up straight. So that like curve of recovery did get better really, really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And then by 7 weeks, I was told to be out of compression. I was allowed to go back to the gym.
Yeah. What did compression look like in that early?
So my surgeon did not have me wear a faja, which is what a lot of people wear, which is that like really intense compression. I was in a binder for the first 5 days. And then I think I went straight to like Spanx kind of garments.
Okay.
I tried a billion different kinds. One of the things that was most challenging was like, if you could imagine when you put on tight compression like Spanx, you sort of have to shimmy yourself to get into it, but you can't shimmy yourself when you've had a tummy tuck. So finding something that was like compressive enough, but also like not impossible to get into was really hard. So I found these ones on Amazon that like zipped up the front. That was kind of more easier for a while. And so I don't know why. I mean, I think every surgeon has their own preference and technique. So like listen to your surgeon in terms of compression, but I really wasn't in anything too crazy ever.
So you felt pretty miserable and filled with panic and regret in those early days. How do you feel now?
I feel great. I'm so happy. I think it feels like my body. It doesn't feel like a foreign body to me anymore. It kind of feels natural to me. I don't think I was completely at my final result until I was about 8 months post-op.
Okay.
But I felt great about how I looked by 3 months. Like I was wearing a bikini proudly.
Yeah.
Even though I can look back now at those photos and be like, oh yeah, I was still definitely swollen and puffy. At the time I was like, this is amazing. I look so good.
Yeah. That's amazing.
The thing that you said before that always gets me, and I've actually repeated it now to my family, is that like you had said when you go into other surgeries, you're like in pain and you're like looking for relief. And so even if it hurts, you're like, okay, well, it's for a purpose, but you go into this feeling the best you've ever felt. And then you feel like knocked down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was in the best shape of my life. it's the physical part that's hard, but also the mental part. Like I was the thinnest and leanest I had ever been. And so coming out and being, I think I was probably 10, 12 pounds heavier from swelling and fluid retention. And I could see it in the mirror. That didn't feel good either. Like,
Yeah.
it's a whole roller coaster of emotions. And maybe this is not the case for everybody. Some people maybe have really easy recoveries from this kind of stuff. But for me, it was not easy for many reasons, physical, mental, all of the above.
Is there anything that you like, any advice or anything you did to kind of get through that time?
I think having a surgeon you really trust, who's really accessible to help you and answer questions and that you can contact easily, made things a lot better. There were so many little things where I was like, ooh, the incision looks weird here. Let me send a picture. And I got a call within an hour or, just so many times I like needed that reassurance that everything was okay. That helped a lot. And then actually having help, you need someone to help you. You need someone to cook your food for you, clean your house, take your dogs outside, take care of your kids if you have them, run errands. Like you just need help. You really are. You can't do anything for a good couple of weeks.
Can I ask a really important scientific question that Dr. Tattlebaum shared with me that he said was a common complaint after having your boobs done? And that is that the nipple sensation, Kasey, becomes unbearable. Do you find that something that you deal with? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. But
no, but actually
it was hysterical.
I did have a funny story about this if we want to get personal.
That's up to you.
You can't tell me enough. I told you. Not enough information.
There's nothing's off limits.
I lost all nipple sensation completely for about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. And then one day it was like they just woke up and I was sitting right there at my desk working. And all of a sudden it was like intense pain. And I was like, what is going on? Because it was like all these nerve endings were just like waking up and like any bit of fabric that would brush across them was like searing pain. And I was like, what is going on? So of course I Googled it and I was like, this is normal. But that was like the feeling coming back. And then eventually it like settled down and got back to normal. But yeah, it was weird. It was weird having those nerve endings wake up. My stomach is still numb in places. I have no feeling in parts of my stomach.
Really? Is that like a thing that comes back?
I don't think at this point it will.
Oh.
Yeah. And I also have phantom loose skin sometimes. Like I was laying on the couch with my boyfriend recently and he put his arm across my stomach. And in my brain, I felt him like holding the roll of fat in my stomach. I felt it like it was actually there. And then I like touched my stomach and realized like, oh no, it's not there. It was the most bizarre.
You're like, can you stop pinching my fat roll?
Yeah, it's weird though. It's weird because like I don't know what it's like to have a phantom limb if you're an amputee, but I imagine it's like your brain actually feels the thing that's not there anymore. It was so strange.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I mean, it's given me some things to think about.
Yeah, same.
I think this has been a good conversation. I think for me, my plastic surgery loose skin journey is kind of over. And for you guys, it's maybe just at the start. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds over the next couple of months and years. And if and when you decide to do it, we will definitely be talking about it here on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We'll keep you posted for sure. I am hoping to have my first round in the next 6 months. So,
oh, wow.
Very exciting.
Definitely before the end of the year. So I hope this was helpful. If people have more questions for any of us about our plastic surgery journey, feel free to reach out and ask us.
As always.
Yep. At Former Fat Friend Pod on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find the three of us on Instagram. I am at Leaning Into Lisa.
I'm at Allie's Losing It _RNY.
And I'm at Maintaining Kasey.
And we'll see you next time.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Catch you later. Bye.